words of Sri Aurobindo from the book The Mother, Part 2, Letters on the Mother by Our Lord, Chapter 11, Some Explanations, page 362. Question: does it make any difference to the mother's consciousness whether she puts on the best saris or the old ones, whether she lives in a palace or in a forest? What do these outer things add to the inner reality? More probably, they may be causing its diminution. For the Sri Aurobindo says, outer things are the expression of something in the inner reality. A fine sari or a palace are expressions of the principle of beauty in things, and that is their main value. The divine consciousness is not bound by these things and has no attachment, but it is also not bound to abstain from them if beauty in things is part of its intended action. The mother, when the ashram was still unformed, was wearing patched cotton saris. When she took up the work, it was necessary to change her habits, so she did so. Date 22nd October 1935. Next topic: living in the supermind and interest in the world. Question: is it at all possible for the mother or anyone living above the overmind or even in the silence to take any interest in the world, since the world would be felt from there as a mere speck? For this, Sri Aurobindo says, it all depends upon what basis one lives in the silence or above. A speck can be of as much interest to the divine consciousness as an infinity. Date 8th October 1934. Next topic: lightheartedness and yogic cheerfulness. As for lightheartedness and insouciance, a light, don't care attitude is the last thing we would recommend to anybody. The mother spoke of cheerfulness, and if she used the word light-hearted, it was not in the sense of anything lightly or frivolously gay and careless, although a deeper and finer gaiety can have its place as an element of the yogic character. What she meant was a glad equanimity even in the face of difficulties, and there is nothing in that contrary to yogic teaching or to her own practice. The vital nature on the surface, the depths of the true vital are different, is attached on the one side to a superficial mirth and enjoyment, on the other to sorrow and despair and gloom and tragedy. For these are for it the cherished light and shades of life. But a bright or wide and free peace, or an Anandamaya intensity, or best a fusing of both in one, is the true poise of both the soul and the mind, and of the true vital also in yoga. It is perfectly possible for a quite human sadhak to get to such a poise. It is not necessary to be divine before one can attain it. Next topic: true love and jealousy. Only one thing I must note, says Sri Aurobindo. Only one thing I must note so that no wrong idea may linger in your understanding. You seem to say in one passage of a letter that the mother had said to you that jealousy is inevitable in true love in ordinary life, and if it is not there when one sees the other loving elsewhere, then they do not love each other. You must have strangely misheard and misunderstood the mother. It is just the opposite of what the mother has always said and thought, and the very contrary of all her knowledge and experience. It is the idea of the ordinary mind about jealousy and love, and not hers. She remembers very well having told you just the opposite, that even in ordinary life one is not jealous if one has the true love. Jealousy is the common moment of the human egoistic lower vital with its grasping possessive instinct, and it cannot be anything else. I thought it better to make this clear so that there might be no misleading impression that such moments of the lower vital nature have any sanction or support in the truth of the soul. They belong to the vital ignorance. They are the fruits of vital ego. Date 1st Feb 1933. Error of extolling vital love. Sri Aurobindo says, whatever may be the glamour of a vital love, once it falls away and one gets to a higher level, it should be seen to have been not the great thing one imagined. To keep this exaggerated estimate of it is to hold the consciousness back from the pole towards the greater thing with which that cannot for a moment compare. If one keeps a fervor like that for an inferior past, it must make it more difficult to develop the entire person for a higher future. It is indeed not the mother's wish that anybody should look back in a spirit of enthusiastic appreciation to the old vital love. It was indeed so little in any true estimate of things. It is not at all a question of comparison or of extolling the vital passion of one at the expense of that of the other. It is the whole thing that must dwindle in its proportions and recede into the shadowy constructions of the past that have no longer any importance. 1934. Next topic, deceptive idea of removing sex hunger by indulgence. The mother has already told you the truth about this idea. The idea that by fully indulging the sex hunger, it will be finished and disappear forever is a deceptive pretense held out by the vital to the mind in order to get a sanction for its desire. It has no other raison d'etre or truth or justification. If an occasional indulgence keeps the sex desire simmering, a full indulgence would only sink you in its mire. This hunger, like other hungers, does not cease by temporary satiation. It revives itself after a temporary abeyance and once again indulgence. Neither sops nor gorgings are the right treatment for it. It can only go by a radical psychic rejection or a full spiritual opening with the increasing descent of a consciousness that does not want it and has a truer ananda. Date 23rd April 1937.